So today we're going to have an action-packed show as we officially have a new contender in the ring for cloud gaming, and the competition is just heating up. We also have Stadia launching a new game and new Stadia sales I'm going to highlight. GeForce Now celebrates 1,000 games on the service, and 13 games come this week, as well as a free game you can play and own. And finally, a device gets announced, and my excitement for this is pretty high, and I think it could be the ultimate gaming machine that you can absolutely utilize in cloud gaming. All that in this video. Subscribe if you guys want to be up to date with all things cloud gaming related. So today Streets of Rage 4 has dropped on the Stadia store, and it comes in at a nice $24.99 price tag. If you're interested in this one, go check it out. We also got a ton of new Stadia sales. I won't go over every single sale since most of these have been on sale at some point in the past few months, but one of these here clearly stands out above the rest and is the lowest price that I've seen since Stadia's launch. That is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, coming in at $7.50 for Pro members. That is a steal for a game that I typically don't like the genre, but I really enjoyed myself with this one. That is by far the lowest price I've seen for that game. Also, Immortals Phoenix Rising Gold Edition is $40 and comes with the Season Pass. So this is chock full of content, and at $40 is amazing good value. Outside of that, there is some incredible sales here that we've seen before. So if you've missed some past sales, now is a good time as any if your wallet can handle it. Overall, Stadia's had a heck of a week so far, with that Google Summit talking about Stadia's future, FIFA 22 next gen version announcement on Stadia. But I'm going to reiterate this again, this is a huge summer for Stadia as it's seeing a lot of games coming, so this is definitely a good time in my opinion to be a Stadia user. So this week's milestone for GeForce Now is that they hit 1,000 games on the service, and that's pretty neat, and that growth continues this week as they see the release of 13 games on the service, with a couple of them new like Immortal Mayor and Lost at Sea. But like always, my favorite thing is to highlight the free Epic game that you can own, and this week that game is Abduction, free until June 22nd on the Epic Game Store, then playable on GeForce Now, including GFN's free tier. So if you wanted to jump in on GeForce Now and play a game you own from Epic, here it is. And I do hope we continue to see this partnership because it's one of my favorite things about GeForce Now and one of my favorite things to highlight, period. Awesome stuff and really cool milestone to see from GFN. Well, it's time to drop in another contender in the ring in cloud gaming, as Netflix is planning on expanding into the video game market sometime next year. This is headed by former EA and Facebook executive Mike Verdu, who joins Netflix as the Vice President of Game Development, working under Chief Operating Officer Greg Peters. Netflix will be building out the rest of the gaming team in the months ahead. There's even job postings advertising for game development. Now, according to a Bloomberg report, the games will appear alongside the movies, and there is no plans to actually charge extra for the games themselves, which is really interesting. Now, there's no word on what types of games the service will look to have, and it's safe to assume that this is a cloud gaming variant coming from Netflix themselves. This is also on the heels of news of Netflix building up online shops to sell merchandise, building up new kids programming. So it's almost like they're taking an Amazon-like approach to streaming and putting its hands everywhere. Now, Netflix isn't a stranger to video games. They quite literally produced the Stranger Things game that I reviewed some time ago. There's also almost a marriage of sorts here, with making games out of their own popular TV shows and movies, and those two working hand in hand together. So it's not surprising that Netflix is building their own games down the line to prop up their own content and vice versa. So ultimately, when we say that the Netflix of games is a thing, well, Netflix is going to take that literally and implement it into their own service, which I think's awesome. So we'll see how this plays out. Netflix, though, might have a more calculated approach to their gaming, and they might just be sitting here not really wanting to compete with Xbox or PlayStation. They might just be trying to enhance their subscription model. But ultimately, we'll see what this looks like, and we won't have to wait too long from the sounds of it. So very interesting stuff. All right, this next topic I fully admit might be borderline cloud gaming news, but for me, I looked at this new gaming tech and I saw many gaming possibilities, including cloud gaming, and I think this device can shine in all categories. This is a new handheld device from Steam called the Steam Deck. It comes this December, and it's powered by AMD APU containing a quad-core Zen 2 CPU with 4 cores, 8 threads, and it has the AMD RDNA 2 graphics graphics and about 2 teraflops. So from what I understand, this thing's around the equivalent of like a PS4 and comes in 3 different price points at $399 with 64 gigs, $529 at 256 gigs with the NVMe SSD storage, and then the 512 SSD at $649. Comes with an 800p screen, and this can be plugged into your TVs or monitors, I think with a USB-C. And it does have micro SD slots, so you guys can add more storage for, of course, more games. Now, the hardware is relatively the same on all 3, with the exception of the games loading faster on the SSD versions, but because these devices come with such low storage space, even at the highest expensive tier, this thing I think will be a cloud gaming beast as well. Stadia I know can run Linux, and this is using the Steam OS, and you can browse the web and do all the other normal things, as this device is essentially a computer through and through. But they've said multiple times now you can wipe this thing and just add Windows if that's what you want to do with it. So right there, this is a new handheld that becomes something of a gamer's dream in my opinion. If you wanted full portability, you can play Steam games on here obviously and keep up with your Steam library, but most people have too many games on their Steam library. So I think cloud gaming right there can then fill in the gaps here as well. Things with like GeForce Now, Stadia, and other services because of the low storage space. Then you can double down and use it as a normal computer anytime you need it to as well. Then not to mention the fact that you can really run all sorts of emulators on here, things like the Sega Genesis, Nintendo, even the Nintendo Switch emulator, and you can see how this device is looking pretty dang cool. I honestly look at this thing like a portable gaming mini laptop in a sense, with just like these Nintendo Switch controllers built in, and when you think about it that way, this thing almost looks like a bargain, as even the very lowest gaming laptops you can find is around $600, and I think this thing is more powerful easily. But we'll need to see, of course, some benchmarks here in the coming weeks and months. Now, the only thing that worries me about this the most, I'd say, is the design itself. It's definitely unique, with the buttons being right at the very top right. It's also very heavy. It's about double the weight of the Nintendo Switch. So I do wonder if this thing will hold up, and how good are the trackpads on here. I know that they're supposed to simulate a mouse, but I rather just use the joysticks and plug in a Bluetooth mouse if I really need one. So either way, I'm going to keep an eye out on this device, and I'd love to know if you guys actually want me to get a hold of this for the purposes of checking it out, checking out all the cloud gaming services and making a video on it here on the channel. I'm super curious to see if you guys are interested to see how Stadia, GeForce Now, and xCloud run on this. But of course, let me know with your thoughts down below, especially what I've also talked about in the rest of this video. Subscribe, like, hit that bell. I'm Sunny, and I'll see you guys in the clouds.